Air Force that's 10th in the Mountain West champion. Then you might have, say, a Liberty from last year, group from Conference USA that might be like 13th or 14th. Would the selection committee consider a group of 5 champion over a 2 or 3 loss Power 5 team for filling out those at larges?
That's a great question, Damian. And yes, the charge to them is the top 5 ranked champions. It doesn't say that each conference gets a champion. They take all. Now we're going to have 9 conference champions, and they will rank them. So it could be that you have 3 out of the from the A4 conferences and 2 from the group of 5. So that is exactly a scenario that could happen. So the commissioners did that very intentionally, though, to keep that pathway open. So it could be that, but they just rank those top 5, or from all the champions, they rank them top 5, 1 through 9, and then the top 5 get the automatic qualifier. That answer your question? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Great question. Thanks for looking my team up too. That's good.
Jack, if you'll come 2 rows forward, the gentleman in the white shirt was next in queue.
Hey Rich, I got a question about players who we've now gotten used to players opting out of postseason games to protect themselves for the NFL or whatever. With an expansion of the playoff, does the committee expect that we'll see fewer players opting out with the games being more meaningful?
Well, personally as a fan, I hope so. I hope that players will stick in to have that chance to win a national championship. But that's yet to be seen, and I think that's something that our teams, our team leadership, our athletic directors, our coaches are going to have to sort of work through. But the stakes are a lot higher than they were. It's not like they're playing in your average game, and this leads to something so much bigger, something that to me is life-changing. So I'm hopeful that, and I do believe that our players are going to recognize this is the opportunity of a lifetime, and we'll take advantage of it. So if I were a player, I wasn't one of those kind of players that would even think about opting out. I was just, I wasn't that caliber, but I would never miss it. I wouldn't miss it for anything. Good question. Thank you.
Rich will slide to your right, first row.
Lever KT, CFB Nation. I think college football is the greatest sport of them all because regular season matters. The pursuit of perfection matters. You have a little margin of error versus like the NBA or the MLB, heck, even NFL, we've seen 500 teams making it to the playoff. Do we think that possible expansion of the playoff can take away the lure of the regular season in college football?
You bring up a really great point. I think that it'll have the opposite. I think that you're right about that margin of error. It is slim, and we saw that. We've seen that in the past. But now, when you have 12 teams, you have taken that margin of error to where maybe a team does slip up. Maybe they are now 9-3 instead of 10-2. They still have a shot because there's, you have a wider opportunity to get into the playoffs. So, and I also think that it's going to drive right up to the end of the season. I mean, there's probably that last week of the regular season, there's probably still 20 teams, maybe, that are contenders that might be able to get in there. And so that margin of error, I think, is still important, but you have a little wider berth for maybe a stumble in the beginning of the season, maybe something happens that isn't a positive thing for your team. You still have a chance to get in. Maybe instead of being seeded number 5, you're number 10. But you can still get in. But I agree with you 100%. That margin of error is critical. But now you can still get in if you slip up and that margin of error gets a little wider. Teams will still be able to get in, and it'll be an exciting season. I think it's going to go right up to the end. People are going to be on the edge of their seats. Who's going to do this? So
We're going to try to squeeze in 2 more questions before he's due on the set. Rich, front row to your left.
Hi, good morning, Rich. Doug
sir.
Parrish with Football Organically. Rich, how has SMU, Cal, and Stanford enhance the ACC academically and athletically?
Well, I think, Commissioner Phillips worked with these schools to bring them in, and, from all that I heard from him yesterday, he gave a great presentation. It seems like this has enhanced the ACC, and I'm excited to see where they go. It's so interesting how the landscape of college football is changing continuously with some of the moves that happen. But the beauty of this is that 12-team playoff, at the end of the season, it brings it all back together. And we put all those teams into the playoff, and now they're vying for that top spot. So it'll be really interesting to see the landscape of all the changes that have happened within the conferences and how it plays out. But I'm excited for the season and where it might go. And I appreciate the way the conference commissioners have really led to keep our conferences viable and ready to go. Not just the top four, but all of our conferences. They all have a shot at this, so it's going to be good to see it in the end. Thank you, sir.
Rich, we'll keep your attention to the left side. Sir, if you would, please stand, and you'll have our last question.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Mr. Davis, Darrell Owens, Legacy Maker Sports Network. Now, Mr. Davis, we've seen the NFL go international. And I know that, college football, obviously mostly in the States, but do you ever see a scenario where maybe you try to branch the college football game to probably bring in international people by maybe going to London for a national championship game, or Mexico, or even Canada? Any place like that, do you think that's a possibility, or at any point in time?
Well, so I don't know, but I know this. There's enough cities in the United States that want the national championship in their cities. If we did, I'd be a marked man. I think people would be coming after me. If we took it out of the United States, I better move and change my name. Because there's gonna be some mad cities coming after me. So, but I do appreciate what you're saying, because we are getting some international press and coverage. I got interviewed by a guy from England last week who was very interested in the playoff because it's growing. It's growing in Europe, it's growing in Mexico, and those markets are becoming places that we need to reach into. And I think this playoff, after people see it, they're gonna want a piece of it. So it wouldn't surprise me if London said, hey, why don't you, bring it here? Well, that's a little scary to me.